Okay, Casey, first things first, 2019, and get an image of the project there in there. Photograph taken, a photograph taken of the project, a nice photograph, paste it in there and change the exam number to your own. Okay, table of contents. You want to make sure, Casey, that everything on this page is exactly as it is in the rest of them. So all of these, if you've analysis of brief, is page 2 and 3. So if your analysis of brief and your spider diagram, that's 2 and 3. Your time planning, aims, objectives, etc. These might be on the same page. Just make sure everything there is on the same page. And one thing, look, the joining methods that I have there, that's in the table of contents, I don't think that that's in the template, so you have to copy and paste that. Maybe copy and paste finishes, so that finishes is in twice, but change the first one, the heading, take out finishes, put in joining methods, and instead of Danish oil, put in maybe dovetail joint or a bridle joint or a housing joint. Put in three or four different types of joints that you might use in it, or the dowel joint that you used. Alright, just make sure the rest line up with it. Okay, next page, your design brief, that's fine. You've all your words highlighted and you've definitions of them, very good. Okay. This here, Casey, just looks original, so I'll give this back to you when you print it the second time. That looks good. I like the colour and stuff around. If you wanted to even, maybe add maybe a few little pictures around the place as well, mightn't go astray, and maybe it's the word spider diagram up here, but that's okay. That's not too bad there at all. Good job. Design considerations. So this is where it's going to go, who it's for, how it's going to be used, and you have must storage room contain a key holder and drawer for personal use. Okay, so look at the instructions there now, Casey. So who is it being designed for? So what age group or what target market? Where is it going to sit? How is the thing going to be used? So there's a few questions there that need to be answered in design considerations. Not that any of these there's anything wrong with them, but you need to change that up. Just answer the questions. My story is the constraints. So what are the things that are going to get in the way of you having good project? So you know, why can't you make the thing out of why can't you make the thing out of gold or something? What are the constraints that you have? So, you know, cost will be one. So you might have a certain cost that you have to keep it under. Time is definitely a constraint. Just read which have storage units suit every way classroom. My main constraint would be time. Very good. So mention something about having done by the end of May or end of March. Secondly, it will need to be attractive hardware. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's fine. There's a few different headings in the instructions there that you might consider. Maybe put in another paragraph. Maybe you might consider one more design constraint. Okay, other materials is the next one on it. I'd say that's in the wrong order there. I'm not sure that should be where it is. I think other materials should be somewhere else. You've got glass and screws, that's fine. Put in a picture of them though, and put them in the right place. Put in a picture of them and say how you might use them or where they're used in furniture. And you need one more other material. So, I don't know, you can do maybe a hinge or a brass hinge, or you could use some sort of plastic or something. So plastic could be another material, and put in a nice picture of them. Okay, time management planning. I allocated time for each space there for each section. This will help me keep track of time. Okay, strengths. I've allocated 1 week for my working drawing. Right, make sure there is a working drawing in there. It's important to have a good sketch to work off of. Project in 12 weeks, crucial research. Okay, very good, very good. So make an art graph. Okay, that's fine. Include an innovative second function. Okay, use a range, R-A-N-G-E. Okay, so they're your aims, Casey, right? So these are your aims. Your objectives should be how you'd measure that. So how are you going to measure that you've made an art graph or an artifact that needs storage in newspapers and school books? So so you want to make that, how you're going to measure it. My artifact fits 3 newspapers, 1 magazine, 2 school books, include an innovative secondary function. My project will be able to, and say the secondary function, use a range of different joints. So I will use a dowel joint, and I will use a dovetail joint. So that's a dovetail joint and whatever else you have on it. Maybe if you have a biscuit joint or something else on it. So mention the different joints that you use. So you're going to use a range of joints. How are you going to measure that? So in the end, how are you going to measure it? Okay, very good. This questionnaire looks very good. Good stuff. The other thing, Kacie, make sure and have a result for it. So in here, put in, I asked 10 people. Most people liked acrylic paint. 6 people said acrylic paint, whatever. The same for that. So just make sure that it's make sure that you have a result for it. Primary research, right? So this is stuff that you've used yourself or that you've taken yourself. So you want to take a photo maybe at home of where the project is going in, because it's primary research. So take a photo of where the thing is going in, and maybe another photograph of something that will be going into it. So maybe a photograph of a newspaper or something that'll be going in. You want to take a photo of that and maybe put an arrow with a measurement on it. And on this page, these are all the things that might be going on it. If they're going to be going into your project, make sure and have measurements on them. So I left arrows on them for a reason. That's for you to say, right, well, I've considered the things that might be going into my project, and these are the sizes of it. If you're gonna use this as primary research, you could say that holds that area there holds books, and the size of it is 400 millimeters or something like that. That you said, right, well, I've looked at these things and I've got measurements off them. You can say if that's primary research. Not sure, half blind dovetails. Maybe you could put that in the previous page, the photograph that we're looking for in the previous page, that you've looked at half blind dovetails or something. But really here you want different images of things that will be going into your artifact. So your school books, your newspapers, whatever is going to be going into it, you want them on this page. So 4 different images of things that might go into it. Okay, your mood board, right? You might include a few more things in that, so maybe a few more books that might be going into it, maybe 3 or 4 different images, because this is an easy enough page too. You just have to fill it up with pictures. So dot them around the page, fill them up as many as you can. It's a nice easy page too. Just get images of things that are relevant to your project. Doesn't matter how closely or how far away the relevancy is. Just make sure that you have a few images that kind of gives you a bit of inspiration when you start designing. Product analysis, you've taken 2, right? You've examined them under 2 headings, Kacie. You want to do more than 2. So aesthetic, cost, you could have environment, safety is one safer than the other, manufacture, which one of them is harder to make. The cost, you said the newspaper shouldn't be too expensive as there isn't many materials used other than wood. Yeah, but this is a hardwood which is more expensive than a softwood, so maybe that might be a factor as well. So maybe give yourself 2 or 3 other headings that you're going to compare the 2 of them under, and do a sentence about each and compare the 2 of them. That'll give you the best result from that one. Okay, overview of hardwood trees. Yeah, looks very kind of inviting straight away. There's pictures on it, although I've seen this image before, so maybe find another image of birch somewhere. Birch is native, that's fine. Ash is fine, yeah, and Hurley in the middle of it makes it look nice and friendly. Maybe get an image of something to do with oak as well, maybe an oak tree or something like that, and maybe you might put a birch tree. They'll be all over the internet, Kacie. Okay, softwood, they're all grand, but put images on it. You saw on the page before how nice that looks with a few images on it. Make sure that looks, I like the way you've a red, for example, to draw the eye into it. That's very good. So just put a few images on that page. Man-made board, you can see here straight out the image, brings out the page. Blackboard, chipboard. So if you wanted, you could reduce the size of the font on it, and maybe get 3 pictures on the page. So the 2 of these and one of a picture of chipboard. Okay, finishes, once again just put a picture of a tin of Danish oil. Just Google image Danish oil, you'll see a tin of it. Open up an image box there and paste it into it, or copy, just right click it, copy image, paste it in there, and it'll go in there for you. So the same here, put a few images in there. So I did okay. Mention about maybe the amount of coats you'd have to put on something. That's okay, that's fine. Tri-square is fine. Marking cage is fine. 10 saw, brilliant. Yeah, very good. Power tools, jigsaw joiner, planer, capital P, planers, yeah, that's perfect. Maybe put in one more woodworking machine, so maybe you could put in a lathe there, an image of it, and just explain what a lathe does. Very good. Okay, your evaluation and research, Kacie, there's good marks going for this. So what you need to do here, so remember I was saying back at the very start of your research page that you have an image of, if you physically yourself took a picture of, where is it? Where was it? This page here. So if you physically yourself took a picture of a newspaper, so if you had a newspaper in there and you had the size of a newspaper in here, you'd say, right, well, the one big thing, one piece of information, so nothing new can come up here, right? So it all has to be just an evaluation of what you've learned before. So you can say, I found out that the size of a newspaper is whatever by whatever, so I need to make sure that my project fits that. In secondary research, which might be this page, or might be the page after in your mood board or whatever, so, or in your product analysis, so secondary research is stuff you got off the internet. What sort of things did you find off the internet? So I found out that some a secondary function that I saw on the internet on some projects was whatever. I found out that the height, the size of shelves that hold books are generally between this height and this height. So something you learn from your secondary research, things you got off the internet. Material research, so when you looked at woods and plastics and manufactured boards and other materials, give me one or two sentences that jumped out for you, or that you're going to use in making your project. Pine is a cheap wood. I may use that in my project. What else? I'm trying to think of your project now. So pine, you made a lot of yours out of pine, so maybe there's particular things about pine that you found out that you might put in. Maybe you might have a handle on a drawer that's made out of some sort of metal, so metal is a hard wearing material, and it might be good in the part of the drawer that's most used, which is the handle. So you might say that in it. Jointing methods, I told you you need to add that in. That's not in the template. So add in jointing methods, like I said at the start. So maybe see finishes. If you copy and paste this page, so put two of these, change the heading to joining methods, and have dovetail joint, bridle joint, dowel joint, whatever you have, picture an explanation of it. And then when you're here, you'll say the quickest joint that I've seen is a dowel joint, and then that'll explain why you have a dowel joint on yours. I'm using varnish. You're not. You use Danish oil. So say if you're applying Danish oil, it can be applied with a cloth. Ideally you'd want 3 to 4 coats. That'll get you through that. You didn't hand tools, you just want to say things that you've learned about hand tools, maybe 1 or 2 sentences that you're going to use for your project, and the same for power tools, right? You did not use a bandsaw to cut out your pieces, Kacie. A junior or student is not allowed to use a bandsaw, so do not put that in. Okay, design idea 1, that's good. There's a part here which is very important that you seem to have. Alright, it's gone on to the next page. You can reduce the size of the text there, Kacie. Have full sentences going along there. The design is aesthetically pleasing. Why? Why is it aesthetic pleasing? The dividers make storage unit cleaner and nicer to look. I'll agree with that. The hooks on the side jibe the storage unit give. I'd say you're missing a V there. Give the storage unit a second function, right? That's all fine. Maybe put two bad aspects to it, and try and fit that onto that page. And when you're saying does it meet the brief, more than 2 sentences, you'd want 3 or 4 sentences, and you want to mention some of these words that you did at the very start, Kacie. So these words here that in your brief, you want to mention these sorts of words when you're saying does it meet your brief or not. Alright, so that's fine. You want to go into a little bit more detail. That one looks like a real image. Kacie, that sketch won't do. So take it, if you're putting that on the template I give you, take a photo of it on your phone, take a photo of that on your phone and just paste it into the box that I give you. But you'll have to maybe go over that in black pen or something because you can barely see it. And somewhere to store newspapers, right? So you're like the last one, 3 good aspects, 2 bad aspects, and then you want to use full sentences for did it meet the brief using the words. So you've a bit of work to do in that one. And looks like it's the same on this one. Yeah, Kacie, you'll have to go over that in black pen. So your first sketch is class, lovely sketch. You want to do something like that for this one. Okay, so same story, put it in the format I give you, put it into the box up here, and do full sentences, please. Very plain. What does that mean? Like, so it's very plain in that there isn't enough joints in it or something like that. You'll have to go into detail on that. Chosen idea. Good sketch again. You can clearly see the outline of it, and you've got so just full sentences here. Yeah, I like the explanations around here. So full sentences down here, and try and fit everything in here. You don't have to make the font big to blow up the page. So you have a full page for the other one. Okay. So full sentences doesn't meet the brief, use the words from previous. Okay, your working drawing. Right, this is stapled in here. This is stapled closed, Kacie, I don't want to rip it on you. Just give me a look at it. Right, it's not too bad at all. You just need to put in a plan. So you've got a view from the front and a view from the side. Maybe trying in the bottom part of it. You've got a view from looking in from the front, a view looking in from the side over here, and then you want one looking in from above down below it. So put in the third view if you can at all. I won't touch that now because it's that's the original document. Okay, this thing, you have no oak in your project, Kacie, so I don't know why you'd need that on a cutting list. All of your project is made out of pine. So what you want to do is, if I said to you I'm going to give you 2 weeks to remake your project, what are the exact pieces of wood that you would need? So you need the few bits of dowels, you need the 2 sides, you need the top, you need the bottom, you need the bits to make the drawer. You have to figure all that out, alright? So make sure all of these are accurate. Okay, after that you're missing your evaluation and conclusion, Kacie. Is that all? Evaluation and conclusion. You can see the instructions for that in the template. It should be straightforward to you. Remember, use full sentences and try and make sure it links to something back in the project. And be honest about it. You'll get marks for being honest about it. So be honest about what worked out for you and what didn't work out for you. You've mentioned there about bandsaw and all that. Look, you didn't use the bandsaw. So you can be honest about what's inside the thing. Or what you can be honest about what you did in the project. No, so you've evaluation, you've conclusion. You can leave out third party evaluation. Just a few bits to look at there, Kacie, but it's not bad at all. It's not a bad start. It's actually a very good. You have the bones of a very good portfolio there. I'll talk to you after about it. Thanks.